look at it. Look at it and then watch the video from that part. Once you watch it from that part, it's much shorter, it's more understandable, and it's more good. Okay, let's go. So first, I got this form from my student, right? And in this form, I created the table by basically going to responses and clicking this green button, and that green button created the table for me and brought me here. Once I got this, right, I am able to select the different lines here by pressing this button here. It's not actually the button, it's the name of the row, right? And it selects. I selected this one, and I press Shift, and then I press this down arrow. And as I press down arrow while holding the Shift button, it selects all the rows. Good. It's good for me. Why? Because now I am going to access, and I am creating a table. It's very easy to create a table and access. Go to Create Table. And you name the table, right-click, and then go to Save. And as you save it, you name it, let's say, level 7, or whatever name you give it. I'm not going to save because I have already saved it, right? Well, once you saved it, please go to this mode, to the design mode. And the design mode, let me save that table 1. In the design mode, it's here actually. You have to press this ruler and the pencil icon. In the design mode, it asks you to give ID and auto number. Disagree with that, delete this. You don't need ID and you need the auto number. What you need to do is basically to put the names of all the columns that you see inside of this Google Forms, right? So basically timestamp, ваше имя, which is translated as your name, ваш email is translated your email. But when you give the names, please try to avoid Russian language. Put it everything in English. So ваше имя instead of ваше имя, go to the access and put your name, right? Your name. So try to avoid this blank space between the words, because Access can understand it as different columns, not like one record, but two different records. You can do that by either putting hyphen or putting underscore, or basically putting that together and capitalizing the letter of every of a new preceding word, right? So your name. But actually, I was wrong, and the first column should be called timestamp, right? So do timestamp. Here, make sure that short text, or in Russian, короткий text, is selected. You don't need long text. Anything else here is not needed. Everything should be short text. Okay. Then is student name. Put here student's name. Please also try to avoid such symbols here, right? Because the Access will not understand it. It will understand it as, again, two different records. Just write students and then name, student's name, right? Then we go in here, then ваш телефон, which basically means student's phone, right? Instead of like writing my uncle underscore to leave school at the age of blah blah blah, basically write question 1, Q1, right? And then go to Q2, and in this text that Nargiza, my student, shared with me, there are actually 50 questions if you don't count as personal questions. So basically you have to do Q1, Q2 up to Q50. But I'm not going to do that, in fact, because I have already done it, and I've done it, and I saved this table as level 7, right? So we stopped it somewhere here, right? And on the design mode of the table. And I named this all 50 fields right here. And in this 50 fields, what I need to do after I've done them, this is actually the names of the fields. And data type everywhere should be short text. But then go please to this review mode, datasheet view mode. Click it on this button, and you're going to see it as if it is was shown on the form, Google form. And that makes all the difference. Now you can basically take this record by clicking on the number of the row, holding Shift, moving down, copying whatever records you have there, maybe 20 students fill in the text, 30, 100 students, you can copy them at once. Returning back to access, basically, let's pretend I don't have any records in here. Right, it's just plain. Yes, I mean, I've just created it. Let's pretend that I've just created the, it's interesting, much more than, let's pretend that I've just created the table. And I'm basically clicking here, right, and I'm pressing Ctrl-V, which is to paste, right? But for some reason, it didn't put all the records. I wonder why. Let me repeat the operation. Right-click, copy. I don't need that. I'm going to use Ctrl-C on my keyboard. Then maybe I don't need this row because I ruined it. Delete record. Okay, delete it. So I'm clicking this asterisk, right? So it allows me to select all the columns, and I'm pressing Ctrl-V. Okay, now I'm more successful, and I added at once the 3 records. But unfortunately here, there is no record of the name, and there is no record of the name because here somebody who was filling the form didn't put his name, right? Neither the form. Well, let's make it up. Let's name somebody Timur. Let's say Timur. Let's put his email, Timur at sketchstudy.org. And then let's make his fake phone number, so whatever it is, right? And so once you've done that, you can again select everything, copy, put it here, Ctrl-V. Now I updated this 3 lines, and I have now Timur and his email and his fake phone number. Okay, good. You can have many records. Here is only 3 students, right? I'm closing that because I don't need it so far. Good. What next should I do? Save yes. Next, I'm creating a query. I'm going to create and then query design. In this query design, I go to the tables, and in this tables, I select level 7. Level 7 is the table that we just made. So table is something that contains the information, that holds information inside. Query is something that organizes the information from the table in an interesting way, right? In the way you need. So we call this and we close that. So this one means that the query is going to work with the table called level 7. And if you go to this SQL mode, you see immediately that there is select and from level 7. So here, after select, you're going to type the names of the columns that you want to be selected, and this one basically indicates the table which we're working in right now. You can either write SQL with your hands by typing the name of the columns, or you can go to the design mode if you want to. This is the design mode, okay? Well, actually, it doesn't allow me to go to the design mode. It asks me already to put on. That's a trap. Let's put student name. Student name. Student name. Okay, and then select the student name. But let's go to the design mode, and you see, actually, I'm deleting that. And you see that you can basically ask access to show you any record you want. If you want the timestamp to show the timestamp when the students were filling that questions, basically drag and drop to this column and then click review, and you're going to see that the time when the 3 of the students filled in the test. If you don't want to see the time, you can go and you can see all the students' name, because you wonder who, how many students and what are the names of the students who actually cared to fill in the test. And then again, you press this review mode, and you see 3 people appear here in the list. If you go and you want to examine SQL, basically click the SQL and you see that we have the name of the column here. So this level 7 is just duplicates this one, and it's the first one is not necessary. As long as you have this and you end the close from level 7, the machine already knows that you're working with the table which is named level 7. You don't have to repeat it here. But for some reason, the machine suggests us to repeat this code. But you know, it's up to you. You can basically program it in the way you want. Instead of the student's name, you can timestamp. But if you write it with your hand, be careful, because any mistype, for example, I mistyped there is no letter E here. And it's going to show me that this column doesn't exist, right? This is what is timestamp? It's asking. Tell me. And if I type it this time correctly, timestamp, it will work out, right? But actually, if you go to level 7, I think it's it's a good idea to go to the level 7 and see how it's called. Stamp. You can ignore this capital letter. SQL actually doesn't care. I've just copied it letter by letter here. If the S is capitalized, I also made it capitalized in here. And see if it works. Yes, it does work. But even if I go to SQL and I instead of the capital S, I put the small s and do the timestamp, it still works. So because SQL doesn't care about whether the letter is capitalized or is a lowercase. Okay, so you got the idea of SQL. And in SQL or in the design mode, you can select not only one record. I mean, why should we select only one record if we have many students and we want to have different information about them? You can select the student name as well, and you can select email and phone or whatever you want to know about your students, and it will show you all the 3 columns. And if you go to SQL, you see that the name of each column, actually again, let me remove this level 7 because it just duplicates and kind of distracts your attention. Okay, and you see that basically what you do is that you type the name of you type the name of the each column, and you separate them with commas, right? There is comma here. Hopefully you can see it. There is comma in here, right? Good, and it still works, right? So if you happen not to have a column here, let's say I'm deleting that on purpose and I'm trying to review that, it's going to show me syntax error. Syntax error means you missed the comma or maybe the quotation mark. And if you put it back here, and it works fine. But also, please remember that any SQL codes ends up with semicolon. So it's properly the rule of SQL is considered to be a polite manner to end your SQL syntax with this symbol, right? So, okay, but what I want you to do here is basically to go to the design mode, and I want you to select basically to have here as many columns as there are in the initial table. Remember that the initial table is called level 7. So basically, you don't want to put everything one by one because it's going to be time consuming. Instead, you select, and then by pressing Shift and then putting this arrow down, you're selecting more and more until you select all the questions in here, right? And I think I have 50 questions in here. I selected them all, then again I press, I click, and I retain the click, and I drag and drop all these records. And it's automatically inserted, right, in the order which was presented. And if you go to SQL mode, basically you see that the names of all the columns are written and separated by here and separated by comma. You go to review mode and you see exactly what you see in level 7, right? There is no difference right now in query 1 in the table level 7. So the question is then, why are we doing query if there is no difference between the table and the query? And the answer is very simple, because we want to program. We want the machine now to evaluate the test instead of the teacher, right? So how do we do that? We do that through the if clause. And this is possible in SQL, right? So let's go to SQL and let's actually, I don't like the idea of having level 7 everywhere written and duplicated because I think it distracts your attention. So I'm copying and pasting it in a simple Word document, and I'm going to home. I mean, you don't have to do that. I'm just doing that for you so it's easier for you to navigate. And what I'm asking this Word document to do is to find the level 7 dot. So whatever whatever is similar to this record, level 7 dot, and I ask to replace with nothing, basically to remove. And replace all, we replaced 54 records, right? But make sure that the last one is here. And the program didn't remove the last one because it wasn't written, it was written without this final dot here, right? Okay, so nothing really magic happened right now. I just made the I've made this SQL code, I think, more convenient for use and understanding by removing away this duplication of a level 7 record, right? Because once the SQL ends with from level 7, the program already knows that you're working with the specific table now called level 7, and all the records that you ask to show up, they belong to this table. Okay, next we are going to program the SQL. So here, question 1, right? Instead of let's put it in brackets, not in round brackets, but in square brackets. Okay. So what does square brackets mean? What do square brackets mean? They mean that this is exactly the name of the column, and it is important for the program, especially if you work with if clauses. What are if clauses? I'm going to explain you in a minute. But right now, just believe me that all the name of all columns should be put in the square brackets. Okay. Well, what I do here is that I type if with double IIF, right? IIF, and then I open the round brackets, right? And then here I write question 1 equals. So I want to give a specific value. And if you go to the test, for example, Nargiza did this test for me, and then the last record, I filled the test by myself, and here I wrote the expected, actually the correct answers. So this line has all the correct answers, the answers that we're supposed to have out from the test. So math is, for example, incorrect answer, and had is correct, right? On answering this question. My uncle had to leave school at the age of 12. So we go back to SQL code and we write if question 1 equals single quotation mark, and then we type had, which is the correct answer. We close the quotation mark, then we put comma, then we open the correct quotation mark again. We write correct. We close the quotation mark. We put another comma, and then again open the quotation mark and say wrong. And then close the quotation mark, and in the end we close the round parentheses. So let me take this chunk of the code and put it inside the Word document so that you can better see that, or what actually it means. And let me make it bigger. So what happens is that I talk to the program and I tell you, please select the record in column named question 1. So what is column question 1? Column question 1 is basically, if you go to 11.7, is this one column, right? People are answering on the question 1, and whatever answers they choose happen to be here. It is recorded in here, column number 1. So I'm asking the program to select the records from question number 1 and compare them. If the record in question 1 has this value that says had, right? If the record is had, then please rewrite it. Rewrite it and don't show this record. But instead of this record, show us the word correct. Otherwise, write wrong. Okay? Let's see what happens, right, in this SQL. I'm returning back to the query, and I'm pressing the review mode. Okay, see, it already evaluates. It already evaluates, saying that Timur answered on this question in the wrong way, but Nargiz and Ruslan answered in this way, in this question correctly. But the only problem is that this ugly name of the column now is X per 1004. It looks ugly. So let's change it. Let's change it. Let's go to SQL mode, and you see that we didn't actually write this code. Sometimes the program writes the code. But if you want a more beautiful name for the column, let's put AS, and then let's open bracket parentheses, and here I'm going to stop, and I'm going to go to the Google form. Okay, guys, and I am sorry, where it's Google form. Okay, I invite you to look at the first question, right? Where is it? It's here, questions. The Google form. It's all started from Google form, right? So the first question, what topic does it answer? Does it measure? It measures the topic of past simple, right? Because the right answer is had to is a past simple. So the purpose why this question was created it was that to check how well students know the grammar of past simple, right? So let's name this column then, which records all the answers on this question as past simple, because I think it's fair enough. So let's go to access, and then after, so this is, I remind you, this if clause, right? And after AS, we open square brackets and say past simple, and we write past simple. Now here you can have a blanket space because it's not the actual column, it's just we renamed it column. So that's fine, and as long as it is in in parentheses, in square parentheses, the program will understand that it's just the name of the column. And let's review that. And now we have this expert 1004, whatever, this ugly name for the column disappeared, which I'm very happy about, and now it bears the name of past simple, right? And so you do the same with question 2, question 3, question 4, etc., right? And when you do that, when you program that, I suggest that you pay attention at a few moments. First, if, right? And then as. And then past simple, right? Past simple. But if you happen to remove this parenthesis, the program will not understand you. Just for the sake of experiment. Let's go to SQL and let's remove this parenthesis. Wrong as past simple. I'm removing that. Let's see. It will actually argue now with me. It says like, what the heck, Ruslan, are you doing? The select statement includes the reserved word. Blah 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 blah. Okay, let's do that again. Instead of square parentheses, you can use quotation marks, right? Past simple, basically to show that this is the name of the column. But the problem is that when you are in the review mode, it's going to show you the name of a column along with this quotation marks, right? And maybe this is something you don't want to have. So I think it's still your choice how you want to present the data, but I recommend you present it in parentheses. But also if you go to SQL and you happen to delete this quotation marks, let me delete them, and basically write as a string without this blank space, right? Past simple. And then let's review that. See, it has the name past simple. So the reason you have this brackets or you have quotation marks is only when you have different words. When you want to name the column and the name of the column bears more than one word, right? So, please follow this example with question 2, 3, 4. I am not going to do that because I have already done that. Let me show you the final result. I'm closing that. I don't need to save that query because I have already made the similar query, and my query is called classroom picture. Why there is so funny name for the query, I'll explain you later on. So what is classroom picture? Let me open that in the design view. Basically, there are 50 questions, but I didn't do all the 50 questions. I think this is your job, guys, to program what are the correct and the wrong answers for all these 50 questions, right? But my suggestion by now was that basically to, let me copy that and bring it to the, okay, so, So basically, you see it's the same routine, right? But for better conveniences of yours, I suggest you to write this each if clause to write it in a separate line, right? Also, before I had this problem actually, that's why I had to struggle a lot. If you want to program it already in the Word document, there might be misunderstanding between the some symbols that you use in the Word document and then Access. Although this kind of a one package, Access, Excel, and Word document, sometimes they don't understand each other. So the problem here with my computer, with the computer I'm sitting in, is that every time I try to put quotation mark, it's a little bit different. Look, I mean, even if it's a single quotation mark, it's a little bit inclined, right? Whereas when I was typing the same thing in the Access document, the quotation marks are like straight. So what we need is a straight quotation marks, not the inclined ones. Then the program works really fine. And also when you write it, please, feel free to make as much blank space as you want. The program actually doesn't care how much blank space is here. The program, it will not change the performance of the program, but it will help. It will help you to make your programming more suitable, right? Why? Because it's easy to check when you organize it in this way, because you can check, like, for example, the first requirement in if clause is that it's not simply if clause, it's double if clause, right? And so it's now very easy to check. You look at double I, so it's it's more convenient for your eye to check if the records are organized in this manner. And then basically you can copy and paste them on your access, and even if there is like some blank space, or you press enter here, right? And then you run it, nothing bad happens. Why do we have this message? I'll explain you a little bit later. So let's go here, and then a student name, right? So we have very interesting thing here. Let me actually delete this. And without this, why do we have it? I'll explain you in a minute. So basically, now, why it is important to do these things? Because again, you have the classroom, right? And you have different students. And some of them mastered certain topics in grammar, or maybe it's a test in the math. Some of them didn't. And by looking at who is more powerful in a certain grammar topic, who is less powerful, you can organize group sessions, and you can have students teach each other this grammar. And it will help those who teach and those who don't know this grammar. For example, here I see that Timur did very badly in the past simple, in the topic of past simple, whereas Nargiz and Ruslan did everything correct. So what I do as a teacher, I come to Nargiz and Ruslan and I say, hey guys, please work closely with Timur and please explain him the topic of past simple, because he didn't score very well on the topic of past simple. That's why it is absolutely necessary that you guys work with him. But then next time I look, and then I see that next time, let's say there is some topic, I don't know what topic 6 is about, you have to program that. So this topic, let's imagine it has a certain name, maybe it's present simple or whatever. On this topic, only Ruslan did everything correctly. So Ruslan has to teach Nargiz, and he has to teach Timur on this topic. He has to instruct them on this topic, right? So it's a very, very important tool in the education process, this access, and it's very important, especially when you deal with the group session. So if you don't want to really work hard during the session, during the classroom meetings with your students, do this program, spend some time programming this stuff, and then basically set the classroom and enjoy watching how your students do the work for you, how they teach each other, how they consult each other, how there is a peer review goes on, right? Next important thing that we need to take, the next step is like, what if you're asked, if you don't want to see this general picture in the classroom, and that's actually, by the way, I call this, that's why I call this classroom picture, the query, I named the query classroom picture because it gives you the picture of the whole classroom. Imagine now that I have not only 3 students, but like 13 or 30 students, right? And if they're all here. So, you know, but what the question is, well, like, what if I want to see only a record of one student? I want to see how Ruslan is doing or how Timur is doing. I don't need to see Nargiz or somebody else, right, in this one. And maybe I just want to send this report. And if I'm sending, Ruslan, for example, made the test, and I want to send a report how Ruslan made the test. And I don't want to send to Ruslan the reports of Nargiz and of Timur, because this is not Ruslan's business to see how Timur and Nargiz did on their tests, right? I want to send a report to Ruslan about Ruslan's work, not about Nargiz and Timur's work. One way to do that is basically you go to the student name and you set the filter, right? Ruslan, and then you basically click Ruslan. Okay, good. Maybe that's easy. I have another way to do that, and that's way is even more interesting. At first glance, it looks a little bit as more difficult, but then I'm sure it will automate the process and it will become much easier. Let us remove this by now. We don't need any filters. So we have 3 students, right? So I'm going to the design mode, and here in the student's name, I could basically go to the criteria row, and then I can put Ruslan. So, and especially, it's important to put it in quotation marks. The program understands that this is the value inside of a certain record. And then I go to the review mode, and it shows me only Ruslan. So what happens in SQL? In SQL is that before we started SQL up to this level, and now we have the additional line of SQL. Let me examine that. Let me show you this one. What does that mean? It's basically say select everything, but only where the student name, where the column student name equals Ruslan. So basically, access the SQL asks to select everything but filter. But filter means don't show this record and don't show that record, but show only this one, because this record has the name of Ruslan, right? So coming back, you don't want to have Ruslan, you want to have Timur. Go to SQL, write Timur, and then press review, and then you have Timur's Timur's records, right? But that might look kind of difficult for you, right? Why do I have to type every time the names of the students? What if I mistype the name of the student, then record, then I'm not going to see this record, right? The access will tell me this record doesn't exist. So what we do to manage that, we create a form. I already created the form for you, and this is the final result. This is how it should look like, right? And in this form, go to, it's easy to create the form, basically create and then form design blank form. But for the design purposes, please go to the design and go to the property sheet. I ask you to do the following things. First go to the pop-up and press yes. So what does it mean? It means that it's going to be shown as a separate window. Look, it's popped up, right? It's actually right now it's very, very small and teeny because there are no records, but it's actually a pop-up now. So you can play with that around. Right click. Oh my God, what have I done? Okay, good. Right click and then design view. Okay, so pop up and it's empty. It's so now let's return to the initial condition. No, still no records. Okay, maybe it's better for me to start everything from the beginning. So let me first show what should be inside the form, and then show the design of the form. No. Let's create again the new form, blank form, and then go to this design mode. And in design mode, I go to design, and here I should press this button, which is combo box. Combo box is the box which has a pop-up of the names. It asks me if I want to type the values that I want. No, I want that to be automatically adjustable. So I press the cancel. I also don't need to have this description, so I'm going to delete that. And if I press the review mode, so what you're going to see is the empty combo box. There is nothing in here. Again, I'm returning to the design mode. I'm clicking this combo box, and I'm going to the property sheet, okay? So if you don't see property sheet, then click design tab. For example, from database tool, there is no property sheet here. So it's design in the property sheet, okay? So property sheet. And so make sure that the combo box is selected, not the anything else, but the combo box. And it's actually other name for combo box. Let's say combo name, because we're gonna select the names of the students, right? Combo name. And let's go to the control source, which is next one. And if you don't happen to see this such names of the lines, go to the all. It's important that if you don't go to other or event, go to all by now. And then all control source, I press 3 dots. No, it shouldn't be control source actually. It should be other thing. Sorry, I made a mistake. After all, in all, you just change the name of the combo box, combo name, or whatever name is pleasant for you. Then go to the data tab. In the data tab, there is row source. And click 3 dots on the row source. And now you are in the query mode again. So this is kind of a hidden query. You're not going to see that, but it's going to be inside of the form, and you're going to use it a lot. So, and in this stage, let's select this level 7. Right, and then a level 7 table. After I selected level 7, I'm closing this one, show table. Okay, and here we need to have students' names. I'm putting it here, and I'm pressing the review mode. So all the students' names are here. I'm closing that, and I'm saving that. So what it means is that I now review in the review mode. I click here, and I see the names of the students. I can now automatically choose them, right? Also, what is interesting is that if I go here and, for example, I've got a new student, let me close it. Just for the sake of demonstration, let's pretend that I have somebody named Anna. She is my student also, right? So Anna is a new student, and supposedly she filled in the test too. So I go to the form. There is no Anna here, but if I close the form, and basically let me save it. Let me save it as form 1, but you can give a better name to that. So form 1, and basically if I go to form 1 again, I close that and open that again, and then there is Anna here, that appears here. So next time I delete Anna, it's deleted from here. So it's very adjustable list of students, right? Next step that I want you to do is go to the design view. Actually, sorry. Let's leave the form fine by now. So instead, let's go to our table, and our table is classroom situation or classroom picture, right? Go to the view mode, and the view mode basically says that show me only the record where the name is Timur. I'm deleting that because I don't want to write the word Timur by my hands. Instead, I'm pressing right click, going to the build, and in the build, I find the diagnostic and education. This is basically the name of the database, whatever database you have, whatever the name you give to your database appears here. I press this plus and I go to the forms and I go to the all forms, right? And in this all forms, I go to the form number 1 because this is how we saved the last form, where this combo box happens to be. And as I press this form number 1, I see this combo name. And that's why I ask you to rename that. So the name is more convenient to use, so you better recognize it here. And then I double click here, and so it appears here. And I click OK. Good. And then I can review it. Okay, it's empty right now. Okay, let's go to the form because form is not activated. It's in the design yet. I'm going to this one, and let's select Anna. And I'm going to this one. Design and review mode. Okay, it says Anna, right? And it basically says wrong, wrong, wrong because there is nothing yet. She didn't fill anything, right? Next time I go here and I want to select Ruslan. Let's see how Ruslan is doing. I'm closing that form. Or basically, it's not necessary to close and open all the time the form. You can click this button, refresh. Refresh. Okay, now actually it is important. I don't know why it's not working. Yes. Classroom, where is this classroom picture? Ruslan is selected. Here is Ruslan. Closing that. Let's do the last one, Timur. And then I'm opening Timur, and there is only records. There are only records for Timur. Okay, so magic, contact. Let's close that, and let's make another move. Let's go to the design mode, and let's create the button. Button is this one, XXX button. Well, so let's make it a small one. We don't need anything of this, so basically click cancel, and here is your button. If you don't like the design, you can experiment that by going to the format and then changing the color, changing the size, shape, outline. You can change it into orange or whatever. Please feel free. Glow, like whatever glow effects you have. But I don't like the names, the combat, let's say, and I don't like the color actually, but I don't have time to play with that. It's up to you guys. So let me name this button as, let's say, see results. Right, see results button. And here I click the see results and I go to all. Let's change the name here. If it is all right to put some blank space on the side of the box, when you're giving the name of the box, it's absolutely necessary that you avoid blank space. It's a result test, for example, something like that. Result button, whatever. I decide I want to name it result test. So and then again, let's look at the preview mode. Looks ugly, but it's fine. I'm sure you'll be able to make it more beautiful way. So I clicked on, right? I clicked on, and then I go to the event, right? And make sure here is not the form, not the detail, but the result test is selected because the result test is the name of the button. And I go to the event, and I press the 3 dots in here. And I call the macro builder, the first option. In the macro builder, I ask open query. Open query. And it asks me what name of the query should be, and it's a classroom picture query that we're working with now. And I don't want anybody to edit that, just read-only mode, for example. And then I'm closing and saving it. I'm going to the pre-review mode. I'm choosing the name of the student and see result. And you know what happens? It opened me the sheet with the 3 results. I'm closing it now, right? So what else you want to do? You can go to the to this form mode, and then now let's select not the test results but the whole form because we're going to change something about the form. Let's go to all and let's find pop-up and let's press yes. So what it will give to us is that when we go to the pre-review mode, we have this kind of a window. It's not inside; it's a window. For me, it's basically more pleasant to work with if there is a window. Let's go to the design view again, and in the design view, in the side of design view, let's choose this record selector, right? You need to have good eyes to find this record selector. Record selector. Okay, so let's press no, and view mode. This ugly arrow, which was before here, disappeared because it was on the left panel. Now go to the design view. I mean, what else should we change? I don't think we should change anything else. You know, you can regulate the size and it will remain the same throughout the whole. Okay, I don't actually like this ugly scroll bars. I don't need them. Again, to the design view, and then in the all, make sure the form is selected. Let's find the scroll bars, border style. You need to have good eyes. Okay, scroll bars, both, no, neither. I don't need either of them. So go to the design view. Okay, the scroll bars, ugly scroll bars disappeared. So you can play with many different options. It's just for you to learn. I also maybe don't need these records. It's all removable. You just find the word record in this all column, and it's very easy to work with. But another problem happens is that, okay, of course it now looks more beautiful, but there is another problem. Let me see the results of Timur. Okay, I cannot see the results of Timur because the form itself prevents me from seeing the results. So what I do, I go to the design view, and then remember how we click this button and then went to the event, and then call the micro expressions, and this macro expressions, there is this classroom picture. Let me we can not only open the queries, but we can also close the form. And let's find the option close window. Right, close window. Where is close window? A close window, close window. And what window are we talking about? We're talking about the form, right? And how that form called is called form number 1. Form number 1. Prompt and then save, always save. Yes. So let's go to the review mode. Let's choose Timur and let's see his results. See, it's automatically closed. The form 1 collapsed and closed, and we see only the Timur records, right? Okay, so your homework assignment would be just to repeat step by step. You need to have Google form. You need to have a certain test on the Google form. I think it should be up to 30 questions or 50 or whatever questions you already have. So take this Google form, open access, create a database, give the name to the database, let's say level 7 or whatever level you were given as a homework. And then repeat the whole structure, the whole architecture of this Google form table inside of your database. We create a table. Then create a query, create SQL, program through if clause, which question should be considered correct, which question should be considered wrong. Then please make the form, make the selection, make the button, make everything that I have. And then I'll be happy when you send this project to me. I will check. I will consult you if there are any problems. If something doesn't work with your Access, although you repeat step by step what I showed, please don't panic. Access is a very capricious program. You might have some bugs inside of your system. Sometimes there is virus that attacks the computer and maybe something doesn't work. But at least what you need to do is just to follow step by step and send me the project. And I'll try to fix it. And then maybe you can write me, Ruslan, you know, I did everything you told me, but this function, you know, like open the query button just doesn't work for some reason. Here is my project. I'll take your Access file, put it on my computer, and see what if something went wrong. If there is a mistake in you coding that, or if there is a mistake in actually in your computer. Maybe you wrote the code correct, everything is fine, but your computer has some problems, and that's why Access didn't work. So basically, blindly follow step by step everything that I showed to you. You have the questions, you write to me. You have my email, guys. That's all by now. I'm eager to see your results. Please don't waste your time, because the midterm is coming, and you know you might be very busy by that time. So finish it. Finish it as soon as possible. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry if we had some problems with technical problems in the beginning. But again, every time you watch the video, basically find the screen that says lesson review and start watching from the screen. So it'll take you 30 minutes, and we will summarize and wrap up everything that we studied. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody have a good night.